start work. So today we are going to discuss about events. Okay, yeah, let me start. I will discuss more about events. Even people should understand. Okay, chalo. So what is event? What is event? Basically, generally something happens on a particular action. That happening is called event. Many of the people feel like action is event. Actually, action is not event. Event is a collection of so many things. Okay. So, for example, I'm clicking on this link. Here, I'm performing, of course, here, whatever the click is, that is called event. That is considered as event in the JavaScript. And whatever the subsequent work we are doing, that is called as event handling. Okay. So here in JavaScript, we will have so many events which we will be performing on buttons, elements, kind of thing, and they will be handled in this way. Let us see this. I have a button here. On this button, I just want to name it as click me. So here you can see the button, and I can perform so many events on this button. So what is the event I can perform? First thing is click, double click, and I can make a tab to it. That is, this is called as focus. So as soon as a button gets the focus, that is also considered as an event. When I lose the focus, that is also considered as losing the focus is also considered as event. So that is called as blur event. For getting the focus is called as focus event. And if I move my mouse on this button, that is also an event. I got a what do you say, mouse hover. Okay, that is also an event. When I move my mouse out of this button, it is also called as an event. When I move my mouse on this button, moving, that is also called an event. So these are the events what actually performed on that element. Which element? Button element. Next, there are certain elements where we can perform some other events. For example, there is an input box. So in the input box also, I can click, double click, mouse over, all these events, whatever button got, they're all there. Along with that, you can have the focus. Now, button is on the focus. Here, I got an event called focus on input box. This is also the focus, and this is also an event. And losing the focus is also event, and that is called blur. That is called as blur event. And then once I get the focus, I can type. Okay, M. So I typed M over there, isn't it? So that is called key press. So there are so many events happening in that particular time. That is key press, key up, key down. These are all the events what will happen in the on the text box. So key press will not be available on click. I mean button. On button you don't have the key press, right? But on the text box you can have the key press. Sometimes I will have input type is equal to radio. So here this radio can get the focus. This is focus event on the radio button. And if I click on this is a click, but when I click on it, it got selected. This is called as another event that is called checked. That is called as checked. Okay. So like this, there are multiple events, and you have to understand what are the different types of events are possible. So here we'll first understand What are the categorization of events? One is mouse events. What are the mouse event? Click, double click. These are mouse over, mouse out, mouse move. These are all different events which are related to mouse. Actually, you will have right click also. That is also there. That is called as context. Okay, this is called as context. And this kind of events are comes under mouse events. The same way, you will have keyboard events. What are the keyboard events? You can have key press, key down, key up. This is all comes under keyboard events. The same way you can have something called input or else form events or input. No, not form event, input events. Input events are something like focus. Actually, focus is a separate type of event that is called as focus event. Okay, but still, let us group them together for our better understanding. Okay, even if you in interview, if you say focus is an input event, that doesn't matter. Okay, focus or blur and change. Okay, changing the value of the input box, that is called on a changing the value. Here what I'm doing, of course typing, but ultimately what it is happening, it is changing the content. Suppose I wrote Praveen and I copied it and again I pasted the same, so there is no change. So this time change event will not perform. समझ रहे हो? Okay, so change means every time the text value gets changed, or even on radio button also we will have change event. Okay, and we can understand that way. And sometimes we will have some events like browser events. Sorry, no, that is the next point. Browser events. What are the browser events? Resize. So when I double click, I mean when I enlarge it, this is called as maximize. This is called as resize. This is called as minimize. This is called as open, maximize. Or if I click on it, it is called close. These are all different events. Okay. So resize, minimize, whatever the spelling it gives you, maximize, and close. These are the different events on for browser based elements. Okay. Okay. Apart from that, in the future, you may realize there are certain things called HTTP events. We may or may not go through this because ultimately we are focusing more on latest technologies. Okay. Earlier, we used to have HTTP events like load, start, load, and for example, if you send a request to an API, the API gives you the data. So when the data started loading here, that is called load start. When the load is completed, that is called as load end. Okay. So those are also events, but we hardly use it. Most of them are here. So once you understand events, so we should understand how JavaScript actually handle these events. For example, when I click on this button, is the event happening on that button or not? Yes. When I click on the button, event is actually happening, but it is not being handled. What happened? It is not being handled. So to handle that event, JavaScript follows an approach. Okay. But for that, HTML first supports it. HTML support with some attributes. HTML attributes for supporting events. Okay. And that attributes are called as event listeners. I know it is called as listeners. One second. So here HTML supports this event handling through event listeners. So for every event, HTML created a event listener, and those are all available in the HTML. Okay. Avi, Vidhi, have you? Okay, fine, fine. Event listeners. What are the event listeners we have? So for mouse events, for example, there is a click event. So for click event, we have an event listener called on click. That is as an attribute we have to use. What are the attributes we have for button? Okay. What are the attributes we have for H1? कुछ है क्या attribute होता है क्या H1 के लिए? Okay. Snehal, do we have any attributes for H1?
H1.
Okay. And do we have any attributes for input?
Yes, sir.
What are they?
For input type, no, like name,
Very good. Name,
Placeholder.
ID,
placeholder,
placeholder.
ID. Come on, yaar, type bolo. Type
Type.
is type.
Text
Type
to
is the
phone.
most important attribute, right? Type.
Text to email ID password.
Text.
Radio checked box.
Text, email ID, password. They are the values. Arun.
Sir.
They are the values. This text, radio, checkbox. These are all values. What is the attribute we have? Type.
Type.
Type is an attribute. Come on, yaar. We have discussed them so clearly. What is attribute? What is property? What is value? What is unit? Eh? Okay, sorry. So this is attribute, right? Because I have to now tell me what is the attribute we have for H1? Don't we have any attributes for H1? कमाल करते पांडे जी. हाँ?
Style.
स्टाइल attribute नहीं क्या? Because if you are not attentive or not clear or not ready, it is really difficult for me to bring you into the plane. Come on. So here the same way we have attributes like on click. तो यहाँ मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ? On click. So what this attribute does, this is actually an event listener. This attribute is a event listener. This event listener will listen to any click event happens on the click me. So on click is equal to, I just say alert hi. Be careful. Outside we have given double quotes. So inside put it in the single quotes. So because I have written the code like this. So when I click on this button, I got the alert as hi. But how is it happened? एक हुआ कैसे? थोड़ा सा धीरे से. Let us understand in a slow pace. What happened here is This on click is an event listener. This special attribute is called as event listener. So this listener listen to the button for click event. For click event. So whenever there is a click event happens on this button, what will happen? Alert high will come. Isn't it? That is a step number 1. Whenever I press, I will perform click event on this button. What will happen? This on click listener will listen to that. Because, okay. Whenever we click on this button, what will happen? On click listener will listen to that event, and whatever you have binded here, that will be performed. That will be executed. So whatever the right side is there, that will be executed when that event gets performed. Okay, chalo. Abhi dekho, try to understand carefully. When I press tab, that is, we got any event there. Did we? That means any event performed on that. कुछ event हुआ क्या उस पे?
Yes,
फोकस
sir.
इवेंट हुआ ना, फोकस इवेंट हैपेंड ऑन दैट. लेकिन फोकस इवेंट पे कुछ अलर्ट ही नहीं हो रहा है, कुछ नहीं हो रहा है. व्हाई नथिंग इज हैपनिंग? द रीजन इज we are listening, the button is listening only to click event. We are listening to click event. We have configured our button in such a way that हम सिर्फ क्लिक इवेंट के लिए सुनते हैं और कुछ नहीं. सही. Next, so this on click will listen to the click event and it will execute the alert high. Okay. Suppose I can make one more event listener. I can add one more event listener on focus. I will call console.log of okay. So here I am. When I okay, careful. I mean, I have opened the developer tools. So there are so many links on the developer tools. They are getting selected. अभी देखो. क्या हुआ? What happened? Button click me got focused. As soon as that focused, as soon as the focus event happened, what happened? This particular event handler will be executed. हाँ, वो एग्जीक्यूट होगा तभी उसके ऊपर फोकस आएगा. कम से कम हिंदी तो ठीक बात करो. नहीं बोला आपने. वो एग्जीक्यूट होगा तभी मैंने सुना नहीं. शायद इफ यू सेड इट दैट इज गुड. ओके, तभी फोकस किया. ओके, क्योंकि फोकस लिखने से फोकस नहीं होगा. हाँ, वाई हाई अलर्ट नहीं हो रहा है? एग्जैक्टली, क्योंकि हम क्लिक परफॉर्म ही नहीं किया. वी डिड नॉट परफॉर्म द क्लिक इवेंट, सो इट इज नॉट हैपेंड. Got it? This is how it works. This is how it happens. Understood? Right. Very good. Very good. Very good. Now when I click on it, see, careful. When I click on it, what happened? Alert भी आया और HH भी आया. मतलब क्या है? What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? When I click on it, it got focused also as well as click is also. Both the events have performed. Understood? Okay. Don't take my example wrong. Really don't take my example wrong. Suppose if I touch you, only one event happens, that is touch. Okay. If I touch my son, okay, only one touch event happened. अगर एक दिया मैंने, मतलब लाफा मारा, I slapped him, तो दो इवेंट हुआ, टच भी हुआ और ओके स्लैप इवेंट भी हो गए. सो वेरी बैड एग्जांपल, वेरी रॉन्ग, ऐसा नहीं मारना चाहिए. तो जस्ट आई एम सेइंग लाइक व्हेन आई क्लिक ऑन इट, टू थिंग्स आर हैपनिंग. व्हाट आर दे? क्लिक भी हो रहा है, हाँ, टू थिंग्स आर हैपनिंग, टू इवेंट्स आर हैपनिंग. Click is also happening as well as focus is also happening. Two things are happening, isn't it? So whenever there is an event performed, always there is an event listener associated to it, but you have to actually use it. Suppose I'm clicking on event, I'm clicking on input box text, input type text. I'm clicking on input type text. One second. I'm clicking on input type text. So, but nothing alert nahi ho raha hai, console nahi ho raha hai. Why it is not happening anything? Nothing is happening, right? Click kiya, we clicked it. No action is being performed. No outputs are coming. Why? Aha. We have not added any event listener to it. You are supposed to say like that. We have not added any event listener to it. We have not binded any event handling to it. Binded. What is happening between these two? This part is called as event handler. This particular part, only alert high, whatever there in the double quotes. What is that called? Event handler. I am binding this event handler to on click. What is on click? Event listener. Event listener. I am binding event handler to event listener. I am assigning event handler to event listener. This assignment is called as binding. Okay. So here, what is these? What are these two called?
Event listeners.
So this is called as event listener. I know listener, but you have to remember, I have to remember the spelling, so I use that. So whatever here I am doing, what is this part called as? This part is called as event handler. Okay. And whatever is happening here, what is this called as? Event bind. Oh, no, one second. This entire part. What do you mean by event binding? ये जो जोड़ना or assigning event handler to event listener. Assigning. Yes, event fine. These are the important things what you need to know before going to React. Without this, you can't do anything. What is this called? Event binding. Event binding. You are getting right? This is what are the how many event listeners we binded to button? Two. On click and on focus. Exactly. Oh, good. So now, so once you understood what is event listener, what is event handler, and event binding. These are the three things. Event binding means yes, वो जो process है that is called as event bind. Okay. But when we are binding the event handlers, you can't write everything in this particular place. Suppose you want to execute 200 to 300 lines of code. Do you write all the 300 lines of code here? So what do we do is we write a separate script. In that script, I will define a function. In that function, I will put this alert. आप यहाँ लिख सकते, you can write everything here, but this will be too much. So I am writing in a separate function and I will bind that function. कुछ नहीं है. When on click happens, this ABC function gets called. When on click happens, this ABC function gets called. Understood? So there is nothing to worry. ये क्या है अभी तक alert बोला है. Don't feel it like that. So I'm just whatever the work I want to do, I put it inside the alert. Okay, very nice, very nice. So this is how you will work on it. So here for every event here, whatever I am using, for every event, we have an event listener associated with it. That means for blur also we have an event listener. Okay, for example, okay, now I will have on focus, right? Let me have something here. On focus, I will call XYZ. On blur, I will call PQR. I have two functions here. So function XYZ, don't alert it, okay? Because alert is dangerous on focus. बार होते रहते. Okay, so console.log of this is XYZ for focus. The same way, I will write another function that is called as PQR. This is PQR for blur. Save. So now, if you see, when I click on it, automatically this is XYZ for focus. That means a function call. Why did it call? As soon as the focus happens, that particular functions gets called. When I click on outside, what happened? This is PQR for blur. That means as soon as blur happens, what will happen? This particular PQR gets called. That is how I bind it here. Okay. So this is how I can bind functions to event listeners. So for everything, for blur also we have an event listener. For change also we will have an event listener. For key press also we will have an event listener. Key down, key up also we will have an event listener. Okay, so slowly by experience you will understand key press, key down पे क्या difference है. I'll come back to that. But key up, is also very important for us. Okay. So now, actually, I don't know, those people who missed the class should watch the video for at least 2 to 3 times. Don't miss this video because this is the basis for everything. So, as soon as event happens, try to understand my point. As soon as event happens, for that event, JavaScript create an object. For every event, JavaScript create an object. पहले मेरे पापा के बारे में बताओ. My father will write a note for every event. Every event का मतलब क्या होता है? Suppose my son's birthday happened. हाँ, जो भी हुआ, whatever happened in that birthday function, whatever we purchased the balloons, whatever we purchased the cake, whatever the amount it happened, whoever gave some gifts or what do you say, blessings, all those things का एक हिस्सा रखते हैं. That is actually called event object. I say, matlab, because in villages, kya, what happens if they come to our birthday party and if they gift us some toy of around 200 rupees. Of course, we also have to give them minimum of 200 rupees of toy, na? If they gifted us 1,000 rupees. So obviously we have to give 1,000 rupees back. That's how it happens, right? So the same way, JavaScript also, as soon as event happens, JavaScript also create an object and you can see that object. Okay. So let us see that object. That object will be available in the event handler. For example, focus nahi, I just want to give you the name of that object is event. You have to pass to the event handler so that you can receive that with a very parameter. So instead of hi, what do I do is I will console.log of that event object. So this event, this particular argument will have event object. So that event object is passed to this function and I am able to receive that object. So now I have to check whether that event object will come or not. I clicked on here. So what happened, guys? An object got created. Can you see here? This is what the object I'm talking about. Okay. So definitely, जैसे मुंह देख के ही पूछ लेते, इनको ये पूछना है ऐसे, हाँ? विधि को पक्का पूछेगा. Don't worry, no one can remember all these things. Okay, हाँ. हटो वो टेंशन हटो. No need of worry. It is, you need not to worry about all the properties. Okay. Whatever we need most important, वो मैं बता देता हूँ. I will tell you. So here there are certain things like client X and client Y. That is 67 and 27. ये क्या है? What are these properties? On this particular page, on which particular pixel I have clicked? On X direction, I clicked on 67th location, and on Y location, I clicked on 22nd. Next, layer X and layer Y. We don't have any layers, only one layer, so the same numbers are available. But here, offset X and offset Y. What are these? On this button, I have clicked here. That is what I said. I just mentioned that also. I am clicking here. Am I right? So when I click there, means within this button, within this button, this is the 57th pixel. Client means यहाँ से शुरू होता है. इतना minute level तक For such a minute level things are okay. Next, page X and page Y. We have only one page, so we are using this one. Wait a minute. Screen X and screen Y. Ore baba. Why it is screen X and screen Y is showing 107? This is the screen width. स्क्रीन के हिसाब से दिस इज विंडो के हिसाब से client X and client Y is based on the window. How about this one? This is screen. Screen X means screen starts from here. This window is starting from here, isn't it? So that is the dimension. I say where you have clicked, what is the X direction, what is the Y direction, all these things we are able to see. Got it? Next. There is very important time thing called timestamp. ये क्या होता है? What is this timestamp? See, once you have loaded the page, after how many milliseconds this event happened? Page load होने के बाद how much time it took to how much time, after how much time that event happened? Understood? Is it clear? ఇడ్లీ దోశ చిన్నవి దోశలు అక్కడ తీసుకొస్తావు కదరా అవి చూడు రెండిట్లి రెండిట్లి సో చలే shall we go to the next point? Next, where we are? What is the next point? Event object is important. Okay. The same way, try to observe it carefully. Even on the text box also, you will be having some events, right? I will remove these things. I will remove everything. First of all, while we are discussing about this point, let us reduce everything and we'll make it so clean. I have only text box. And when I am performing on key up, that means whenever I am pressing key and releasing the key, that means I'm upping the key, I will call the event ABC. Event, and that event object will be passed to E. In that event object, let us see what will be there. So event object came, right? In that event object, what is the key I pressed? What is the key I pressed? Oh, what is the value? Okay, in the target view. What? Because that is different event, na? फर्स्ट ओ का भी इवेंट ऑब्जेक्ट था लेकिन मैंने ओपन नहीं किया. नाउ आई वांट द वैल्यू, मतलब अभी क्या है इसमें, वो वैल्यू मिलेगा हमें यहाँ. इन द टारगेट विल हैव ए प्रॉपर्टी कॉल्ड वैल्यू. ए देखो, so instead of printing the complete object, if I say e dot key, so whatever I am pressing here, that is able to print space. Understood? So instead of displaying here, can I display here? Okay, have you understood what I have done? So as soon as you perform the event, it will take that event object and you can do whatever you want. Okay, no sir, I don't want individual characters, I want the complete value. So e dot value is to be used. E dot target dot value. Just now I have shown you e dot target dot value, right? ऐसे होता है. So what I want to do is I would like to show you how I can achieve something like this. I have created H1. I want to print in that H1. How can I do that? I will take an ID is equal to D1. So first I will select the variable document dot get element by ID of D1 and inca dot inner HTML is equal to e dot target dot L. Now you see this, isn't it? This is how you can able to access the event object. By using event object, you can able to pick up the event value and then subsequently you can print the into the inner history. Hope you are clear. Let us not give you more than this. Strength is less today. Okay. So continue and please do this practice today itself because tomorrow we are discussing advanced event aspects. Okay. Form handling, both too many things we are going to see tomorrow class with more examples. क्यों आपको वीडियो नहीं मिल रहा है? लिखो. Yeah. See you guys. See you tomorrow. Bye. आज फ्राइडे